Thank you. Okay, good evening. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We have a full house tonight, a full agenda. Just move right ahead. Our first item is the approval of our agenda. Before we go through the approval, we do have one item the staff has asked to pull, which is item 14. That item will be brought up again in the next couple of meetings. It has to do with the advertising, plus advertising contract. All right. So, any other discussion on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Dave, could you please come to dispatch?
Aye.
Dave, please come to dispatch.
Thank you. Public comment this evening. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring an opportunity to address the board on any matter not on this agenda and over which it has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Persons wishing to include the verbatim remarks in the official record shall submit same in writing. Members of the audience are asked to avoid engaging in any behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record prior to making a presentation. And we have one public speaker this evening, Tracy Mensch. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
And your companion. What's her?
Tinkerbell, this is my service animal.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment here. I am an advocate here in the community for people with disabilities. I had to retire from my other position that I had at the Independent Living Center due to health reasons and other things. But I'm still out there, and I want to let you guys know that I still want to be really a participant in everything that goes on within GET and be a part of whatever changes need to be done for Get a Lift and also coach. So, but I am really passionate about what I do, and I really want to see that Get a Lift gets more of a seen more as in like for what needs to be done in Get a Lift services and things, and I'm willing to work with Kendra and to work out those things, and Lisa and Mrs. King. I just wanted to let y'all know that I'm still here and I still want to be a part of things, and I'm very passionate about what I do for my peers. So thank you very much for your time, and you will see me at the meetings.
Thank you, Tracy.
And also around town doing other things too.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your offer of help and support.
And a positive attitude especially.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you again. All right, the minutes of March 5th, our past meeting. Yeah, no, March 15th, I'm sorry. Any discussion on that?
I move to accept the minutes from March 15th, 2016.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Accounts payable disbursements.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Our next item is the ISO 14001 certification. And our staff member Maureen will be providing the introduction to our presenter, Mr. Antelis. James?
Excuse me, I just wanted to introduce Maureen. I
Okay.
know not all of you know her yet.
All right.
And so Maureen Pitts, would you come up? Maureen's our new environmental sustainability coordinator intern. She's been with the district now about 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
And during that time, she's been learning about our EMS and doing a wonderful job, I must say. Anyway, I thought I should introduce her to you tonight before she does some of the introductions. So
All right.
we're happy to have her aboard.
Thanks, James. Chris? Maureen, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. In 2013, Golden Empire Transit was selected to participate in an FTA-sponsored environmental management system training. The FTA sponsored training to develop an EMS following the ISO 14001 standards. The purpose of this training was to promote environmental stewardship among the nation's public transit leaders. GET was one of 10 transit agencies selected to participate. A core team of GET employees chose to participate in the Institute and then worked together to develop an EMS for the district. This participation came with the goal of becoming ISO 14001 certified in 2015. The district was audited by a third party and then successfully received their certification. Mr. Ray Tellis is here from the Los Angeles FTA to provide us with our certification. Thanks.
Thank you, Maureen. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I can mention, we had a press release today at 2 o'clock, and we had these presentations at that time as well. You'll probably see it on in the news. Thank you.
Indeed, I look forward to that with being a local celebrity. But jokes aside, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the GET board, for the GET board, I'm certainly pleased to be here this evening for a second time. And thank you for that introduction, Maureen. On behalf of the Federal Transit Administration, FTA, and our senior advisor who's now leading the agency, Callan Flowers, and our own regional administrator in San Francisco, Leslie Rogers, I am today pleased to present to the Golden Empire Transit District, the GET bus, this ISO 14001 certification for its environmental sustainability and management system program. As Maureen alluded to, in 2013, GET received a grant from FTA to participate in our initiative that is extended to public transit agencies to promote environmental stewardship in terms of the nation's transportation system while streamlining the environmental review process and then the development of your transportation projects. So GET is one of only 38 agencies nationwide to have completed our EMS training. Typically, some of the environmental benefits and you know the GET bus system recognize this, and I must emphasize here that the commitment comes at the highest level with the board and with the CEO, and that is a remarkable undertaking because the benefits, I think, pay dividends. And some of the benefits we have seen from the EMS program is a reduction in the number and the type of severity of compliance incidents, improved relationships with state and federal regulators, reductions in pollution and waste quantities, recovered resources, reduction of air emissions, and reduction in the amount of oil that gets into the stormwater and wastewater system. So FDA is pleased to note, since we've been monitoring your program, that after a full year of implementing its program, that GET has made huge strides towards its sustainability commitments. I was personally impressed when I had to sign in to come into the office this afternoon that I had to read your EMS policy and certify that I had read it. That is remarkable. And then as I walked around the corridors, I saw all of the promotional material related to training, and I talked to Karen for a while, and she talked about the extensive training to vendors and other drivers that come to this facility. I think that goes a long ways, and we certainly at FTA hope every transit agency could come on board and commit to that kind of dedication to preserve the environment. So bus in itself, or GET, has made operational changes that it has reduced its water usage in this 1 year by 25%, and vehicle gasoline usage has been reduced by 10%, and its compressed natural gas usage has been reduced by 13%. Remarkable standards, remarkable reductions. And more than 300 employees here have been trained internally in the GET EMS program, or under the program, and because of this extensive staff training, GET was able to achieve the ISO 14000 certification, which is certainly a noteworthy accomplishment. So this evening, this certificate recognizes GET and GET Bus for its leadership and organizational commitment to the environmental protection of this community and sustainability as well. So again, on behalf of FTA leadership, I'm here to extend congratulations, and if I may present you with the certificate, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of this. We have another certification. Maureen will introduce the next speaker.
All right, the district aims to continue its commitment to environmental sustainability and wellness. As a result, we are always looking for ways to connect with other green businesses in our community. Kern Green is a nonprofit located here in Bakersfield. Their mission is to help individuals as well as businesses improve their environmental awareness through education. By providing a green certification for businesses, Kern Green has promoted eco-awareness in the workplace. The district applied for the certification by outlining all of the green initiatives that have taken place at GET. After reviewing our application, Sasha Wines came for a site visit and then approved us for our certification. Here to present is Sasha Wines.
Well, I wanted to thank you guys for having us here tonight. We were really just surprised, and it was really great to see how much you have implemented in such a short amount of time at your facility. You obviously had all your staff that you gathered together and really got them encouraged to do it, because it's not easy making change. And your employees, as we walk through the facility, we're all excited about it. Right from the get-go, when you entered the facility, your receptionist was the first one to greet us with the green policies and to let us know it's a green facility and here are the things that you need to do. And as you walked around, and you could tell the pride that was involved, and you had an amazing green team that we got to speak to, and every single person talked with it with such pride. So it's always nice to really, with your leadership and the leadership of the people inside, everyone got really behind it and they were really excited about it. So you guys passed our certification with flying colors. It was really great to see. It's probably one of the best certifications that we've done, with the most amount of points from any organization in Kern County, and we've done quite a few certifications. So we're really proud to present this to you guys and to honor Golden Empire Transit as one of our certified green businesses for Kern County. Thank you. Congratulations.
Mr. Chair, may I just recognize the key team members that were part of developing the EMS? If you're here, not all of them are here this evening, but there were some employees who really made outstanding effort to make this happen, and they include Kendra Cheers, Chris James, Ross Keith, Sharon Pierce, Maureen Pitts, Jill Smith, Bruce Seibel, Emery Rendez, and Stephen Woods. They really put in effort above and beyond. They set the bar high, and they really helped us make this achievement possible. So thank you all for doing your part.
Thank you, Karen. And team. I had the honor of sitting in on the last quarterly meeting on the EMS, and very impressive amount of work. And thank you, Mr. Tellis and Ms. Wines, I'm sorry. I met you this afternoon. All right, moving on. There was, okay. Unmet needs resolution. This is brought back to the board from the last meeting, and Mr. Woods, Steve.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Yes, this item is being returned to the board. On March the 1st, 2016, there was a public hearing held on March the 1st, 2016, to receive testimony regarding the transit needs that may exist within Bakersfield. Subsequent to that meeting, 4 items were reviewed for whether there was an unmet transit need, and the Service Review Committee and staff believe that those were not unmet transit needs. However, on March the 15th, the Board of Directors declined to approve Resolution 2016-4. The staff subsequently returned and amended the resolution by deleting the first paragraph and replacing it with the exact wording required in the current Council of Governments. The Finance and Administrative Committee reviewed the changes that were made, and at this time, staff's recommendation, with the support of the committee, is to recommend that the board make the finding that there are no unmet transit needs within the Bakersfield metropolitan area, and that a result of that we meet and approve resolution 2016-05, unmet transit needs.
Okay.
Would anybody from the Finance and Administrative Committee like to speak to this?
If there's no discussion, we have a recommendation from the committee, and as I understand it, we just simply need to ask for a vote approval.
Yeah, motion second, then a roll call vote.
No, it's coming from committee, Robert's Rules of Order.
We don't need the motion in a second. We have the recommendation, so we'll vote on the recommendation.
Sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Roll call vote.
Roll call.
It's a resolution.
Sorry.
Roll call.
Director Baldwin,
Aye.
Director Bielli is absent, Director Hunter,
Aye.
Director Kirschenman,
Yes.
Director Parra.
Yes.
It passed with 4 ayes and 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just would like to make one quick comment if I can. In that resolution, it defines what unmet transit need is, and hopefully, as we go forward, we will look at our transit needs and as we look at different projects and use the definitions in this to judge whether there is or in fact an unmet need. So I was glad to see that addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Okay, moving on, we have a letter of support for Assembly Bill 2565. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In your board packet is a copy of Assembly Bill 2565. This has to do with funding of independent living centers by the state. I received a call from the executive director of the Independent Living Center of Kern County asking us if we would consider sending a letter of support for this bill. Specifically for the Independent Living Center of Kern County, it would mean an additional $235,000 in funding for their agency annually. There's 28 independent living centers in California, and 25 of them receive that funding. There are 3 that, because of something in the law that was written many years ago, do not receive it. With this bill, that law would be amended, and those 3 additional agencies would receive those funds. And just as a side matter, the bill is actually authored by our Assembly member, Rudy Silas.
And the External Affairs Committee did meet on this matter, and we have a recommendation to approve this item. Do we need roll call or vote? Voice vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Next item is the board policy number 1, fair philosophy, goals, and strategies. Mr. Woods again. Thank you.
Thank you. On March the 17th, 2009, the district board of directors adopted policy number 1, fair philosophy, goals, and strategies. Recently, staff reviewed this policy in terms of purpose, philosophy, goals, and objectives that include ridership, fairness, sustainability, simplicity, consistency, and the ease of implementation. In addition, staff reviewed the process about when and how adjustments occur and factors to be considered during the fair adjustment evaluation process. The Administrative and Finance Committee met on March the 2nd, 2016 and reviewed the policy. They concurred with staff's finding that the policy is current, concise, and consistent with the financial practices and no amendments were proposed. Therefore, this committee recommends that the board affirm policy number 1, fair philosophy, goals, and strategies.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? We have a committee recommendation. Voice. Do we need just a voice? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right, we have the bus stop annual inventory report by Emery. Welcome, Emery.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Each year around February, we update our bus stop facilities data, and I believe you have a report there in front of you, which is the summary, which was completed just a little bit over a month ago in February, our bus stop facilities inventory. And I've got a few slides here that'll summarize what's in the report. The bus stop is a very important element of our service, and as I've noted up there, it's as the first point of contact between the passenger and the transit service. The bus stop is a critical element in our mission and vision statements and our overall goals. There's a number there of key players that are involved in the location and design of bus stops. Besides us there, you'll see the others there listed that are all a very important component of the bus stop design. The report has a few graphs and charts in there. We have just about a little over 1,000 bus stops currently. Most of those stops, almost all of them, have signs. Some of our other facilities include shelters and benches, trash cans, information tubes, and solar lighting. We have to work with the various jurisdictions. In this case, the pie chart there at the bottom shows that most of the stops, close to 70% of them, are in the city jurisdiction, and then the other big chunk of the pie here is the county jurisdiction, and then there are a few under state highway jurisdiction, and then a few in private property. We've got a few pictures here of some of our different facilities. There are examples there at the top, accessible bus stops. Those pictures there are showing Kern Regional Center and Memorial Hospital, and you'll notice that there's ample space there which meets the ADA requirements for the wheelchair clearance areas. You'll notice pathways there, accessible pathways to and from the bus stop. And then you'll see there in the middle the familiar signs we have, and which includes those QR codes where people can scan those, and as you're waiting you can find out information about how soon the bus is arriving. And then at the bottom there, we have well over 100, I think it's something like 137 information tubes also distributed throughout the area. Benches, we have various types of benches. The most common is the recycled plastic benches there. Those are fastened down in paved areas. Some of the stops that don't have pavement, we still have to use the wood concrete benches there in that picture. And then in a few locations where the spaces are limited, we have to use those metal benches so that there's still some clearance in front there. And then the bus shelters, the typical shelter there, that picture, that's the one right outside the door here. And then also we've had private developers also provide some shelters there. When the marketplace several years ago was built, they constructed 2 shelters there. And then at Tahone Ranch, pictured there are the shelters they purchased and installed at the current Delta Park and Ride. And also they've got a number of shelters located at the Commerce Center, the outlets, and at IKEA.
Emery, these, I think I read in the report that these sponsored shelters, are they maintained by us afterwards, after they're developed?
Yes.
And also, just to give you some information which helps encourage bus shelters to be provided by developers. In the Bakersfield Municipal Code, they have a stipulation where a business, if they're within 1,000 feet of a bus stop, they can reduce their required parking by 10% if they provide a shelter or what they call a bus facility. In the most recent one, as an example, there's a new Starbucks near the corner of White Lane and Hughes. And just last year, they provided a shelter on Hughes Lane. The shelter's located adjacent to the former Walmart there. And we have Omni Health also is working with us right now to do the same thing on White Lane in the southwest. And then another way where we can get shelters also is when we review the site plans for a project. We have the opportunity to provide comments, and so we can send comments in basically recommending to the city or the county that as a condition of approval that they provide a shelter.
So this is a benefit or an incentive on the part of the business within 1,000 feet to pay for the development or the installation of a shelter because it relieves them on the number of legally required parking spaces. That's within the law of the city. That's
Yes, yeah, it's in the municipal code. Yeah, 10%
municipal code.
So that's part of their mitigation is, okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Got a question, Mr. Chairman. Karen, you said that those private stops are maintained by the particular businesses, are by us?
They're maintained by us.
So the one in the Northwest Promenade is maintained by us or
Yes,
them?
it is. It's maintained by us.
I remember quite a long time ago, I asked that question, and we said it was the developers that's maintaining that one. In fact, I called the developer, and he tried to get Walmart to work on that one in the Northwest Promenade. So, but if it's ours,
Well, what we found is that we asked the developers to maintain them, and they don't. So our crew goes by and empties the trash and sweeps and power washes the pavement.
what about reconstruction if there's something that's broke or a roof that's not working or something like that?
We work with the owner of the
Shopping center.
of the shelter, yeah.
Thank you.
Emery, I see on some of these shelters that there are trash cans around them and some of them don't have them. What is the criteria for us to install a trash can? And obviously they're not at all of them, so what is the?
Yeah, altogether, I think we have, it's close to around 200 trash containers. And usually where there are bus shelters, there should be trash containers. There might be a few exceptions. But overall, I'm pretty sure that at least at the shelters, because the shelters are usually at higher boarding locations. If a request comes in, usually maintenance will ask us to run some of the automatic passenger counts at a location, and then we'll let them know how heavily the stop is used. Because sometimes the problem is the trash is not necessarily generated from the riders. It could be because of the activity adjacent business or whatever. So that we try to look at least how many people are using that stop and ride and try to help make the decision.
Okay, thank you.
And then that map there's a little bit further. That shows the distribution of the bus shelters throughout the urban area there. And then the pie chart there at the bottom, this was an interesting statistic that we looked up recently. And we looked at the what we call sheltered bus stops and non-sheltered bus stops. The sheltered stop would be all of the ones that actually have bus shelters, as well as the transit centers, because they have a canopy, so they're actually sheltered. They have roofs where you can stand under. And then we looked at the boarding activity at those stops, and how many people were using them. And even though only about 13% of all stops have shelters, we found there, shown on that pie chart, that about 53% of the daily boardings are occurring at those sheltered stops. So basically, just 13% of sheltered stops is already accounting for a majority of boardings at stops that are covered, which I thought was interesting.
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman. I would like for us to keep track. We just, at the last meeting, we approved the purchase of 25, I believe it's 25 new bus stops, am I correct? I think it'd be interesting to take a look at the ridership before and after and see if there is a strong correlation in this new stop being added as an increase in rider. Obviously, it's going to take some time to get some data. A new shelter, does that, what is that correlation? If that is, that should help us make, good decisions on, hey, that tells a good story, this pie chart, but, what is that elasticity sort of shelter? I'd be curious to see that when we get that data.
Yeah, that's a good thing to follow, because I think they would, they should act as magnets, really attracting people, because they've got protection from the sun and rain.
And by the way, for the audience, we do have a screen in the back. If you can't read the small print here, you can just check the same slide on the screen in the back. Yes.
Eric, can I ask you a question about this too? What kind of ridership are we looking for to put a shelter?
We have some standards, and I believe it's 40 or 50, is it 40? 40 passengers per hour. However, there are some exceptions. It could be possibly lower if it's adjacent to an important trip generator, such as a senior facility or a medical facility. So there are some exceptions.
And what is these 25 that we've purchased, are they going to go to stops that have this 40 per hour group, or is there another level down that we're now going to be helping?
Yeah, many of them are actually going to go to a level that's lower, because we have about 138 shelters right now located at I think 134 stops, and those 134 locations for the most part are most of the busiest locations. So they were the ones years ago that already got shelters. So now we are, just like you said, we're entering the phase where the next set of locations in many cases are not as high ridership, but they're still important locations. Like, for example, one of the locations for when we buy these shelters will be over there on Select Avenue across from the NAPD, where the PT Mizia project improved that bus stop.
That's good. Thank you.
And then another facility we have, there's the solar lighting. There's right around 100 solar lights that we've had for the past few years. And those are two locations showing where those are. And with those, if the rider pushes the button on the post, the light will light up for 5 minutes. And then turnouts, we have a few turnouts. We need more turnouts in the future, and we'll be recommending turnouts where appropriate. Those two locations there are examples of turnouts. That one, especially on California Avenue north of Stockdale, that's a really good one because if you know what that looks like there, if we didn't have that, it's difficult for the bus to pull over.
Chair, regarding those turnouts, I know, 10, 15 years ago when we used to design tracks, we were asked to put in turnouts, and then it seemed like, like 10 years ago they told us to not do it because you didn't want them anymore because it kind of trapped the buses in the turnout area. So have we gone back to now wanting to design turnouts, or are they on a case-by-case?
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, and I think right after that, I remember what you're talking about there, a new study had come out, I think it was nationwide, just telling people basically to be careful because sometimes the buses get trapped in the turnouts if you don't have, for example, signal right behind it, and then it's not easy to join the flow of traffic. So yeah, basically they kind of told us to cool it on some of those locations, so we slowed down. But I think they are needed, in appropriate locations. Like that one over there in California, north of Stockdale, you've got the signal down just to the south of there. So it helps control the traffic so the bus can pull up there. And then, there's a red light farther down which stops that flow, and so the bus can join the traffic.
And that's basically on arterial. Well, say if I was designing a new tentative track map and there was an arterial, does planning get the tentative map to make comments on?
Yes.
And you would say
Yes.
we would like a turnout here, or?
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, even on Stockdale Highway at Buena Vista, a number of years ago, they had plans for what is now the Riverwalk and that shopping center there, and we had no bus route there. Now we have Route 82, and we hadn't even done the study to redesign the system, so we didn't even know if we ever really would. But we had the opportunity to comment, so I told them go ahead and put in turnouts, and then now we do have Route 82, and I'm glad we have those turnouts because that helps out there. It's okay, and then trash containers, of course, we have, there's a lot of trash containers at locations there around town. And then the bus stop improvement projects, which you're aware of, the PT Mizia project and the TDA funding project. Those pictures they were showing before and after with the PT Mizia funds, the Select Avenue location there, and then the one on Coffee Road there, Willow Creek. The one there at Willow Creek, you'll notice before it was that grass strip there, and then the picture to the right there is what it looks like now. And we have a bus shelter at that location. And that's a location also that is less than 40 passengers per hour, but adjacent to it is, I think that's the Kaiser office, and then also you've got the IRS right near there too. So people do go there even though it might be less than 40 per hour. And then the top picture there, that's over there in Chester in California. That's part of the TDA funding improvements there, improving broken pavement. And then the graph stops with no parking have increased in recent years. I know the county and the city's done a pretty good job, and the county is starting to work on the no parking also. And then this is the last slide. The end of the report has, I can't read that from here, but it gives you all the specific detailed numbers, the types of shelters we have, and the total stops and so forth. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Emery.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Do we plan on, I guess this is a budget and finance question, but do we plan on investing again any more money in partnership with the city and the county again? And also that PT Mizia money, is that something we can go after every year, or It's just a one-time deal, or when does that come?
Yeah, the P team this year was from one of the statewide elections, one of those bond issues, I believe, and so that is complete. We won't be having that anymore, at least we don't think we will, which is unfortunate. That's a great project. And then the other one, I'm not sure what the answer is on that.
So that would be something that would have to come up in the Budget and Finance Committee. And I think since the city was so successful in getting their projects done way ahead of what we thought, and the county is still, they still haven't started, and now I've heard that they've put it on hold again. And so
Really?
I heard that now, because they're going to match some of the funding, that they've decided to wait until they knew how much funding they were going to get. I just think it's, if we're going to invest again, that the city ought to be rewarded for doing their projects, you know, in a timely manner. And maybe if we do invest it, maybe they would get a little bit more than the county does next time, if we're able to do that.
I know with the PT Mizia project, I spoke to one of the county engineers in the past week. I know they're working on the improvements on the list that's under that project. And he told me that July is their target, that when the new fiscal year begins, that they will start construction on the PT Mizia locations. The other one with the TDA funds, that's probably the one we're mentioning about finding the other funding also.
Yeah, in the last facilities meeting that we had on this subject on the county representatives were there. What's the gentleman's name?
Plumney.
No, Plumney, right. And the explanation about why they were waiting till July was, as you said, they have other funding coming in, and according to their planners, by commingling those funds, they would be able to take advantage of more funding and do a better job in certain areas. That was the explanation. And I don't know, as far as I know, the plan is for them to start in July, when that funding comes available. I agree with your point about the city. The city's done an amazing job. They're very responsive, and they've done a great bit of work around town. And to your other point, your question, if I can respond to that, in our meetings and the facilities meetings, we have discussed future continued collaboration, particularly with the city. Yes, sir.
To the county's defense, the Voice Group and GET has been working with the city for over 3 years. So what they have done in the last 6 months is an absolute result of them getting on board after a 3-year time period of working with us to catch the clear understanding that it needed to be done, that a single lawsuit would have paid for all of what they've been postponing to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we've just started with the county. So I think we would be remiss to brush them with the same brush as we would with the city. However, having said that, at the last meeting, I said, whatever projects go forward in any other future GET dollars, I want us to determine what those are, not the county. Because there are some real threats in the county areas that need to be addressed. They're not necessarily on Virginia Avenue. So if we're going to give money to them, they need to have our experts involved.
With the PT Mizia project, the list that the city did, those are all, they're completely done with those. And then with the TDA funding project, they have completed some of them and they're working on others right now.
Thank you, Emery. Excellent report. Okay, the funding for an active transportation program. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an item that Board Member Parra asked that we put on the agenda. And I'd like to introduce Peter Smith from KernCog, who's here this evening to be able to answer any questions that you might have. KernCog has received a funding of $250,000, I believe it is, from Active Transportation Program to do a study on pedestrian and bike improvements. And you were sent a copy of the scope of work for that project earlier this week. And Board Member Parra has asked that GET consider contributing $25,000 to help broaden the scope of that project to include how those active transportation facilities would interface with transit. The city and the county are also considering putting additional funds to this study. Was that close?
Yeah, if I may just, it's important that we update right now, actually, 3 years ago, the metro area of Bakersfield and Kern County, KernCog, did bicycle transportation plans so that we could get money from a certain fund to be able to apply for these funds. Well, when all these other programs got rolled up into the active transportation program, those BTP plans pretty much became obsolete. Now because they want active transportation plans. So in order to update the existing plan that we have, in order to apply for more active transportation program money, we need to have this active transportation plan in place, because it makes you be able to score higher on the applications. So we're trying to pull together money from all different kinds of sources so that we can do the best plan that we can. It'll encompass Kern, Metro Bakersfield, and I think some of the other outlying cities. But we're trying to get as much as we can. And I think it'll benefit GET, because most of these facilities all lead to our transit stops. And I think by us contributing, that it would benefit GET a lot by being able to go after some other funding.
So Cindy, are you saying that GET at some point will be able to use the results of the study to go and maybe apply for some grants, or is
that's correct?
Chairman Hunter, my name is Pete Smith. I'm a planner at the Kern Council of Governments. The basic use for the ATP plan is to provide data which justifies new infrastructure projects related to pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and how it would interface with the GET system within the metropolitan area, and how it would interface with Kern Transit in the outlying county areas, also in the 11 incorporated cities, and we'll have probably a model program for the smaller unincorporated communities. But the chief reason for undertaking this project is, again, to provide actual data so that it can be justified for infrastructure improvement projects. I heard earlier today the PT MISIA, the TDA stuff. That's the stuff, the hard projects that improve the pedestrian access immediately surrounding the bus stops. But we're talking about networks of pedestrian projects around schools, employment centers, retail activities, places that would be natural attractions for ridership for the transit system. Can I answer any other question? Yes, Ms.
Is GET an eligible applicant for ATP funds?
If you can execute a master agreement with Caltrans, which I believe you can, then you are an eligible applicant for ATP funding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was the nature of my question, is can we then take this, so do you think we could, I guess, register with Caltrans?
Yes.
So Caltrans is who implements that program, and this is the study with which we can go and unlock some potential funds. What type of things would it fund? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, what is the ultimate goal? Is it bike lanes through a town that connect you to transit station?
It's to avail all of the transportation systems within a community for all types of transportation users. People, bicycles, pedestrians, especially for people with disabilities, wheelchair, elderly, walkers, canes, things like that, to try to eliminate those physical barriers to that type of transportation for those people that have, that particular situation. As you know, the need is overwhelming, not just in Bakersfield and Kern County, but everywhere. So we're trying, the purpose of the study is to identify areas that, take an inventory of what we've got, and then try to identify the areas of critical concern, and then load up the funding to address those. In other words, create a priority list. This project is first, this project is second, this project is third, and we go down the list.
And even if it is if they're Caltrans monies, it's still being managed through Kern Cog, correct?
Well, it's kind of a hodgepodge at this point, because the ATP grant that was allocated to Kern Cog was worth $250,000. The city of Bakersfield has trying to go for $50,000 from a Rose Foundation grant to update their bike plan, but now it's not going to be, it's going to be more than a bike plan, it's going to be a ATP plan. The county of Kern through Kern Transit has allocated $25,000. We're asking you for $25,000. And we have $68,000 from another study that we commissioned but then halted when we got the ATP plan. So the total project that all adds up to $418,000.
And the reason for the city to increase what they are, more than what they were originally doing with the bicycle paths, was because of their access committee?
No, again, the reason for the updates is the plans to provide ammo for the
But
grant.
that was driven through their access committee that says we need to rethink about those accesses you were talking about?
I'm not familiar with the access committee.
The access committee at the city is the one that has really come out of our meetings that GET and Voice have had, that are actually developing an access plan for all the city of Bakersfield to increase ADA accessibility.
And if I may, I think Chris Gary from the city manager's office had met with that access committee, and it has come partly from that committee.
Yes, our thought was that the uses of the $25,000 would, from GET, would be applied within the metropolitan Bakersfield area, because that's the service area of Golden Empire Transit, where the $25,000 from the county would be applied towards the county areas, since they're the ones that are responsible for that type of transit in their area.
The plan's going to be one big plan though, and the RFP is going to be such that you can take pieces out of it. Like, if this is all you're concerned about, you can take this piece out, or so but it's all gonna be just one big plan. that's
Right,
why
and this is
we're
the
trying to
beauty of it. We
collect so
don't
much
have,
money.
we won't have multiple plans, although we'll have one, you
That
know,
inter-
hopefully in one consultant will do the entirety of the study.
And the reason for the additional funding that you're suggesting is to get the best possible consulting service organization, is that
Well,
basically
To
it?
make it more cohesive, and the way they are right now is it's, you know, the county has this piece, the city of Bakersfield has this, and so there were a lot of
Yeah.
gaps between the two. And we think if we make one big plan, then and for that reason, that we can get the best result from whoever wins the contract.
The expense in the plan will be the public outreach. And it's very expensive, as you are aware, public outreach, finding the venue, staffing the venue, in many areas of the county provide bilingual translation. You know, the mapping, so on and so forth, very expensive. And we're talking really essentially in Kern County, you're not really doing county planning, you're doing statewide planning. I mean, Kern County is as big as many eastern states, may not have the population, but the geographical size of the county is very large. And very physically and socially diverse, as you're very aware. Yes, sir.
If I may, so the county's willing to give $25,000 and they're asking us to give $25,000, is that correct?
Yes.
It doesn't seem like the county is giving proportional to their size.
Well, actually they are, if I may. Metropolitan Bakersfield accounts for roughly 60% of the County of Kern's population. So the remaining 40% is within the outlying outside. Now there's a number of other communities, you know, Delano, Ridgecrest, that are incorporated, and we're not asking them to provide any transit, but I believe in almost all those cases, Kern Regional Transit is the provider for the outlying areas. So I would have to study it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would just say at first blush that the proportionality of the 25,000 is maybe not exact, but it's within the zone, or it's you know, more or less equal.
Yeah, my whole point is I just would like from the study to have something usable that can then go by and use to bring either additional revenue or additional funds or something additional to the district.
Yeah, it sounds like that the objective of this initiative is to develop that data.
Perfect.
A data warehouse of data or data bank, so that all the organizations can use that. Is that essentially, and rather than all the organizations doing their independent studies?
Right. Say for instance, normally it's been, or traditionally it's been done city by city. I'll give you an example. The city of Wasco 3 years ago commissioned a study about safe routes to schools. Maybe you're familiar with that story. About Wasco's kind of an interesting, they don't bus their students to the school, it's all walk. So they met with the people in the community and they mapped out how the kids went to school and everything. Well, they used that data in their ATP grants in 2015, and they were the most successful applicant in all of California. The ATP is it's a pretty complicated application. There's a lot of moving parts to it. Demonstrated need, disadvantaged communities, environmental considerations. But you have to have the actual numbers. It's data driven. So we can't just make up oh, well, we think more people are gonna ride the bus if we have better sidewalks. We have to prove that more people are gonna ride the bus because we have better sidewalks. And this is one of the ways that we can demonstrate need and quantify that need.
So, we're asked to provide direction on this in item. Elliot, did you want to, with your concern, did you want to provide direction that we have a rider on we provide the funding, but have a rider on it that we follow up with it in some kind of, to ensure
I'd be fine with that. I
utilization?
just want to make sure that we, at some point in the future after the studies, we go try to get some of these funds. I'm sure we will if that's available to us.
Well, we can look into that, but I might also suggest that GET may not need to be the grant recipient to be the recipient of the benefits. The city or the county could actually be the grant recipient and make the improvements similarly to what they're doing now. That
Who
would
makes
be-
the improvements?
Right,
Yeah, we
right.
Okay, that's a good point.
That's a very good
All right.
point. I'm in support of it. Thank you very much for,
All right.
Is that your motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
very much.
Yeah. Okay, next item, videotaping board meetings. Gina?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As the board will recall, a decision was made to start videotaping the board meetings early this year. We embarked on a test period of 5 meetings. That test period time has concluded, and so I am here to determine what the board would like to do next with videoing meetings. Should the board decide to continue videoing, there are 2 options. The first is to contract with Marcom and have Jacob continue to video the meetings because we were not sure what was involved. Their original quote was $415 per meeting. They have now gone back and changed that to $450 per meeting because they now know what's involved. The second option would be to bring the video process in-house. We kind of shied away from that when we started this because we also were not sure what was involved. We have a better idea now. Currently, so in order to bring it in-house, we would need to obviously buy all of the equipment, and we would need to have a staff person to do that. Currently, we don't have a staff person with these skills. However, I've done some investigating, and it would be possible to hire an intern to do this for us. Jacob might disagree with me. I'm not sure that the videoing part is the difficult part. The difficult part is actually the editing, which they have done an excellent job with. So at this point, I guess the decision is, number one, does the board want to continue videoing the meetings? And number 2, how would we facilitate that process?
Yeah, I was going to add that the marketing committee did meet on this point, and we spent a lot of time exploring the options, and we do have a recommendation, right?
Yes.
Okay, did I jump on your?
No, go right ahead.
We'll let Cindy can handle it. She's the chair of the committee.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I for one, and it was the consensus of the committee, of just me and Jim, that we think the videotaping has been very beneficial to the transparency that we've been trying to put out there to the public, and letting people know that we're not trying to do anything behind closed doors, and so the committee decided that with a recommendation that we should go ahead and continue to videotape our meetings.
I was also, I should add, asked to contact KGov to see if the meetings could be broadcast on KGov. They do have an interest. They are reviewing the videos that are on YouTube now. They have not responded with a decision. There would be no cost to us to do that. If you'll recall, that was one of the options we looked at, and they were quite expensive to do the videoing because of staff time involved. But should they decide to broadcast our meetings?
So are they looking at what we've done already just to see a quality, if it's something they can just get the video we've done and just then rebroadcast it the way it is?
Yes.
Yeah, because I know they're dying for content all the time. If you look at that, I mean, they've got those.
That's the reason we asked you to check into that,
Right.
because we know they can use some additional content, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
So that may be an option.
So according to your minutes, you're recommending that we bring this in-house?
Yes, if you wanted to, she brought us a budget of what she thought it would cost for us to do it. And looking at it, after the purchase of the equipment, we thought that it was comparable, if not even a little cheaper down the road, for us to do the video taping ourselves. The only thing we would need the intern to do is the graphics. Right now, I think the graphics are great. You know, they have a little intro and you know all the text that's on there. And we would need to get an intern to do that type of stuff because we don't have anybody in-house right now that can do it. But it would be a limited amount of hours that the intern will be needed, and in turn that intern would also be able to maybe do other duties that have to do with whether it be videotaping or other types of marketing or even social media, all that type of stuff.
As you know, we're moving into more videoing, and so having our own equipment and having someone who is more skilled would provide us with more opportunities to do the videoing that we started.
Basically do the editing would be the part that we need some help in right now.
With this, yes.
Yeah, I was going to mention that from my perspective, one of the reasons we're bringing it in-house is to develop that capability, in-house capability, to expand it. There's a lot of additional, the events and activities that have been going on that are being videotaped with, what are they, handheld, I don't know, but cell phones or something?
Well, one thing that we do have to keep in mind, so when Albert was videoing with with his cell phone, he is doing that because that's the only format that can be loaded onto Instagram. And we're getting a lot of hits on Instagram.
Yeah.
So there is a reason for doing that. He had, I don't know if you noticed today, but he had the video, he had our small video camera, and he also was doing it on cell phone because cell phone, and actually if you look on Instagram and on our Facebook page, those are our event this afternoon is already up on there. So yes, I was asking for the intern for approximately 15 hours per week at $12 an hour.
Well,
I don't agree.
Okay. Let me, the point, I don't think I finished my point, but the idea is the equipment that we would buy would be available for use in these other activities and bring some consistency in. Anyway, those are.
My feeling is that we're a bus company, and we do that really, really well. And the marketing pieces that we need to do need to be of extremely high quality. Not that that can't be done in-house. It can be. There are companies that do that. But I think you get what you pay for. With Marcom, we know the quality of work that they do. They do it for national companies. I mean, these people really know their stuff. They already have the equipment. They have the expertise when it comes to posting this on to the internet or giving it to the county to rebroadcast on KGov. It's already going to be viewable ready. It leaves them with the responsibility of maintaining the equipment, buying new equipment when needed be, training the people. If they want to hire interns to help with what's going on over there, I think that's a great idea. But for those things to be in-house here, I think we need to really weigh how if we're just going to stick our little finger into this, that isn't to our advantage. If we're going to be developing a video department, an IT department an audio video department that is going to be for producing everything that we need done, that's a whole different story. But to produce for $450, that's $11,000 a year to do these. We can't hire somebody for that. We can't hire somebody for that and have benefits for them. They don't get sick. This is Marcom that does this. It's not somebody that we have to have. So if we're going to do this, I wasn't in the meeting, but I have some experience on the equipment, how to use the equipment, what it takes to do the equipment. I did that when I worked in Hawaii. And what we put out was about a B grade. I don't think we want that. I don't think we as a company want B grade. I think we want A+ grade.
Gina?
Well, I was just going to make one comment, and that is that I don't disagree with Jim at all. Marcom does an excellent job, and after the first meeting, I said to them, "Wow, you set a high bar because we're trying to decide whether we're going to continue to have you do this or bring it in-house." But the videos that we are doing now that go out in the community newsletter, on the budget we have, we cannot afford to do those, have those done by Marcom or anyone else. Those would need to continue to be done in-house. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with that.
Well, posting things on Instagram for social media, in my opinion, you don't want it to be professional. That's not the purpose of social media. Social media is instantaneous. And I don't have a problem with that.
Right, it's a different feel, it's a
totally
different format.
thing.
Right. I just as we...
If I may, I have another comment on why us doing the videotaping there's another benefit, is we control the video, and there may be parts of it that maybe we want to take out and maybe show at, maybe at another meeting, or show, take pieces out of it. And
clips on Facebook.
if we control it, then we're able to do that. I think it's harder if Marcom, just sends it, just puts it up on YouTube. It's harder to be able to take those pieces out of what's there and package it in another way that we want to show it.
There's a cost to it. It's not that Marcom can't do it, there's a cost to it. Because obviously, that's what they do.
Kelly?
Uncharacteristically quiet.
You are.
I tend to agree with Jim. I haven't had a whole lot of experience with this, but in order to do it right, and I've watched our videos, they're done right. It's done extremely professional. We hire an intern who's a student at prestigious Bakersfield College. I love Bakersfield College. I'm not knocking that at all. They're not working for Marcom because Marcom's a professional organization. They have full-time jobs they work. So we're not getting Marcom level folks to work on these. I see from a financial position, Cindy, your point is very well taken. Probably year 2, it doesn't cost us 10 grand. It costs us, a lot less than that, because we got to buy the equipment, and we can reuse that the second year. But the counterpoint to that is next year there's a new camera out with a different format, and we got to be doing this in a different way. Who knows what the future holds? And it's almost like by hiring Marcon, they're responsible for all those updates. Computer doesn't work, it's not our problem. We hired them to put this, so I tend to think that, at least for our meetings, now whether we want to have a broadened, sort of media presence, I think that's a different discussion. And maybe someday, as part of a bigger, audiovisual plan, we bring this in-house. But I think for the time being, in our limited scope, I would be more apt to, go with Marcom for at least a year, and they've been doing a great job. And watch them go, and when we get to the next item that we want to have a more media savvy department to take on, then we take a step back and we're like, okay, is this something that we can now bring this video in house and have a little bit more synergies?
I think my final comment is that I probably need to hear from leadership to tell us what their plans are. I mean, if the future holds this, timing is everything. This is something that we as an organization, this is the national trend, this is how other transit districts are moving. And as board members, we need to probably take that into consideration and offer our support of whatever that's going to be. But I would also not only want to know, if that's what it was, what the timing should be on supporting that as well. So
Well,
that's my final.
Well, thank you, because that leads into my comment. How do I put this? I actually actively campaign to get involved in the marketing committee and the activity with marketing, because it's one of my areas of expertise and passions. I attended the meeting in Phoenix and saw a lot of things that other organizations are doing. And the reason why my interest in marketing is because it's the toolkit, it's the tool for our strategic plan. It's a cornerstone for our strategic plan on how we execute and accomplish a lot of the things in our strategic plan. That's where I'm coming from, and I think that's part of what you were saying right now. From a timing standpoint, we don't have to make this move now, but at some point in time, maybe I was jumping the gun and thinking, I'm projecting maybe a little too far in advance, but that's where I was coming from. And I like your suggestion, Elliot, that we can. We're not really there yet. We're not there from a marketing. The kind of marketing that we envision, that we were envisioning in our strategic planning, which will be consummating in the next May 10th. But yeah, I guess we're really not there yet. But your suggestion about continuing on with Mark for a year, maybe seems to make sense from this discussion.
Yeah, I was looking at it purely at a down the road if we were going to save money. And I agree with Mr. Baldwin that, we don't know really what kind of a product we're going to end up with. Marcom is the professionals, but I had every confidence in our marketing department that they would be able to put together a good piece, a good product. But we went back and forth in the meeting, and in the end it was mainly what brought me to that was just, down the road we were going to save some money. And it was going to be a learning process though, and how long of a time were we going to give to give that learning curve but once we bought the equipment, then, we bought it. And, whatever type of learning curve there was, we were pretty much going to be stuck with it.
We were going to be committed.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have a change in committee recommendation?
I would say,
Motion?
I would motion that we go ahead and stick with Marcom for another year and revisit what we might be able to do in a year.
I would like to add to that the idea that we look at the alternative as part of our strategic plan, because it is an element of that. It's a critical element. So we have
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Gina.
Thank you to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, we have Operations Department Activities Update by Condra. Good evening. Good evening, Kendra.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I knew I was 20 on the list, but, so it kind of caught me off guard. As you all know, the operations department is in charge of the cycle of each bus from rollout each morning until the bus comes into the yard at night, 363 days a year. So we facilitate our drivers who are out there doing their best, and we facilitate them facilitating the passengers. So with that being said, that lets you know that we're pretty busy every day with a staff of about 19 people. And the last time I was before you was September of 2015, so it's been a little while. And since then, the operations department has conducted a safety campaign in October of 2015, and we focused on blind spot safety, intersection safety, boarding and alighting, passengers, and space cushioning safety. In that campaign, we hung banners, we had safety tests, we had activities on the patio, and we had popcorn. And you know how popcorn is. I mean, popcorn goes down the hallway, the center of it, knocks on the door, and beckons people to come out to see what's going on. So we had that going on. And in addition to that, we had the rideshare campaign. And we collected 162 rideshare pledges. And Current Commute absolutely loves us because we have the highest number of rideshare pledges. And it is consistent with our EMS program that we will be environmentally responsible. In addition to that, we had our speakeasies. The operations department is a department who manages the speakeasies for the facility. And we celebrated our first year anniversary in October. And in February, we had 2 guest speakers, our very own Karen King. She spoke on the 2015 accomplishments, and our very own Gina Hayden. And she spoke on the customer service rollout, and she presented the new video that she and her department so beautifully put together. And it was a huge hit, and everyone loved it. They spoke of it more highly than any speakeasy that we've ever had among the employees. And the employees, of course, get an opportunity at the end of our speakeasy for about 10 to 15 minutes to share their concerns, to make their suggestions, and then that information is brought to a committee, and we meet on that and take it to the service review committee, and we make a decision on it. And sometimes it's given to the appropriate manager, and we don't feel that we have the responsibility to tell the managers what to do with their department. We just make those suggestions. And then for the first time at GET, we participated in National Transit Appreciation Day. And so what we did was, with the help of the marketing department, it's very seldom that I do any kind of presentation without their help and their expertise. And they put together these really nice thank you cards. And one side of the card was a thank you to the driver. The second side was perforated, and it was tips on how a passenger could help their favorite driver with things like have your fare ready, sit down as quickly as you can. I think there was something on there about letting passengers with disabilities board first, those kinds of things. And the passengers were incredibly enthusiastic about the whole thing. Our very own CEO, Karen King, our deputy CEO, Stephen Woods, they were out there, out and about at the transit centers giving out thank you cards to the passengers, and the passengers were like, hey, I want 6. I have 6 favorite drivers. And so it was very well received. And the drivers, for the Get Lift, Gina's department was brilliant enough to send out newsletters to the Get Lift customers, and their thank you card was part of their newsletter. So they could cut it out and then hand it to their favorite driver. And so those were coming in like, actually, I think we had some like over the weekend. And so we're going to do a drawing because they wrote their name on the back of the card, and we're going to give out a few gift cards. And so it was very successful, and everybody's been telling us, we loved it, but you need to start a little earlier and give out the cards at the beginning of the week so that they can give out the cards all week long. So that was one of the suggestions that were made. In addition to that, we had a secret rider on our in our buses from February 18th through February 22nd. That individual did 52 ride checks, and there was a lot of information that was presented to us in those 52 ride checks. And we currently have supervisors who are meeting with the drivers to make them aware of the things that they did good and the things that they have a challenge with. But overall, it was a very good audit. One of the things that we did, we gave them an additional page of questions or things to review regarding customer service, since customer service is really on the forefront today. You know, we want our current customers to ride the bus more often, and we know that when you provide good customer service, that's the outcome of that. And so basically what the auditor said was that the drivers were pleasant and courteous. One of the questions she asked me was, do you want the driver to speak to every single passenger? And so sometimes they speak to a single passenger, and sometimes they speak to a group of passengers. And we felt that that was reasonable. And finally, we had 7 different opportunities to train. Currently, we have a person from operations and 3 other employees from other departments who are going to the University of the Pacific training. There was 4 scholarships that just suddenly became available for us, and so they're going down to Clovis almost every Friday or every other Friday, and they're getting training on key management and industry essentials for transit professionals. So it was a beautiful opportunity, and along with the other 6 opportunities that GET provides for our employees for training.
Where do these scholarships come from? The school themselves? Or?
Ms. King, could you answer that? Is it from the FGA or the school? I'm not sure.
I believe it was from the school, but I'm drawing a blank right now. I'll find out for you.
Thanks.
So that concludes my presentation, unless you all have some questions about anything.
Okay.
How many of the appreciation, any thank yous came in?
I'm not sure. We haven't had the drawing yet. We were supposed to have it today, and Tadash Kim was going to take care of that, and then we had the Earth Day, and so we got kind of sidetracked. But I can let you know that.
At some point in the future?
Yes, I will, certainly.
Cindy?
What is the ADA announcement? It says here was made loud and clear.
As you know, we have automated announcements. And so out of those, one automated announcement was somewhat garbled. And the other 2 were drivers who should have done their own verbal announcements because the audio announcement was down. And so we had 3 incidents of that.
So is that just the announcement that says that the front?
Well, it says it announces each bus stop if it's audio.
Oh, okay.
If it's from a person, you have a specific requirement like major intersections and
Right,
when the
okay.
next stop's going to be, major bus stops. You don't have to announce every single stop like we do.
Okay, I thought ADA meant that it was the, like a disability.
It is, Americans with
Okay,
Disabilities
so that's
Act.
what it is.
Yeah, it's a requirement of that federal law.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were asking.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Another excellent report. All right, Kern Council of Governments, a report by Cindy.
Karen, did you attend that meeting? I was unable to attend it at the last minute, and
I did. I was there, and probably the most notable thing that occurred at the meeting that is relevant to us is the board took action to approve a list of CMAQ projects that had been developed for funding over the course of the last several months, and that included funding for us as well for the electric buses that we've been talking about. So they had a lot of other things on the agenda, but that was the primary item that is relevant to us.
Okay, thank you. High-speed rail update, Karen?
Yes, I have just a couple of things to report on. At your last meeting, Diana Gomez was here and she indicated that they would be getting the MOU, draft of the MOU back to us. They have done that. They redlined that. We're in the process of reviewing it. I've had some conversations with their engineering staff and have some clarity about that agreement. I've invited them to bring their right-of-way consultant to a meeting so that we can talk further about the MOU and about perhaps what's even more important, which would be the relocation MOU. They're viewing this as a kind of a master MOU that just essentially says we'll cooperate with each other, and it's really the right-of-way acquisition agreement that I think is essentially of greatest interest to us. So that will be proceeding. We will be having a facilities and equipment committee meeting following that meeting with staff as we get an action plan together. As you know, until May, there's not been stated a preferred alignment, and they're not able to do anything substantive. So we're moving along at a snail's pace. We have a conference call with the FTA, the FRA, the high-speed rail, Kern Cog, and ourselves on the 14th. So we will be updating all of those agencies on the status, which isn't much. And then lastly, you're aware, Board Member Hunter and Para both participated last Wednesday here at GET. We hosted a visioning session that the City of Bakersfield and their consultants were conducting for the station area planning project that they're doing. And I was very pleased because we invited our employees to participate, and there were a few members of the public that came, but there was all total probably about 25, maybe 30 people, and it was primarily our employees.
It was an excellent turnout and representation of the organization. The room was full of the blue shirts.
And it was on their lunch hour, so.
Chris and his team. So that was, no, it was excellent. Yeah, I just want to mention that I'm impressed with your organization's hosting abilities, because you really go all out and make a good impression with the public. That it's part of the public continuing building the public image. Cindy?
I have two things regarding high speed. One was, I peeked in on 2 other of those visioning workshops, and this one by far had the most people in it. the one Bike Bakersfield held in the morning, I think we had 6 people show up, and then the other one that I peeked in, I think there was maybe 12 people. So when you offer food, it always brings.
I didn't know there was going to be food.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was a pleasant
When I had
surprise
breakfast.
because I was thinking, am I going to eat before I go there, or should I wait till after? And then I got here and said, oh, I can eat right here. But the other thing is the facilities committee the one who's going to, I guess, be the one who starts looking for another piece of property, or are we going to form another committee for that, or what is our next step as far as trying to find a suitable?
Yeah, it was my intention to work with the Facilities and Equipment Committee, and that's the reason for bringing this right-of-way consultant in. And to the extent that the High-Speed Rail Authority can find another location for us, I think we should let them bear that responsibility rather than us hiring someone to go out and look for that.
So we're going to put it on them to say, I mean, how do they know what our needs are? I mean,
well, we'll have to provide them that.
So we tell them what
we need, and then they have a responsibility to locate an appropriate location for us.
Part of my understanding is that it turns out that if we do anything on our own, maybe I'm misrepresenting this, but if we do anything on our own, like go out and find property and so forth, then the High-Speed Rail does not feel a responsibility to support us in that way. I'm speaking in real general terms. It seems like it's we can't go out and, or we need the High-Speed Rail to be totally involved in whatever we do.
In very general terms, I think that's correct. There is a federal relocation act that they're bound to follow, and it's pretty specific on what their responsibilities are. And I think we need to hold them accountable for doing everything that they are responsible for doing.
We don't want them to put us way out in the northwest or the southwest, or even west of 99. I don't think would be a beneficial to us. I mean, and so those are some of the criteria that we'll tell them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Karen. Okay, where are we? Board committee reports?
Would it be okay if we skip to the CEO's report so I can?
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to, that's a, Karen?
I have a very short report. Before you have two things of interest. One is an announcement about Catherine Horton's retirement party. If you don't know who she is, she's the bus operator that was in the Bakersfield magazine a few months back, and she is retiring after 35 years of service to the district. And you're more than welcome to come between the hours of 12 and 3 and wish her well on her retirement on April 11th. Secondly, you have a couple of little blue cards. These are cards that we actually provide to our bus operators when a customer has a complaint or a question that the operator's not able to assist them with. They give them this card so they have the information they need to be able to contact us and get their concerns met. So we thought you might want to have a few of those. You may have occasion to use those. And then the last thing I had was just to remind you that on April 18th at 2 o'clock there will be a media event to showcase the bus stop improvements that the city of Bakersfield has made. The Voiced Group, the city, I believe someone from the Independent Living Center and Kern Cod, I think all will be represented at that media event. It will be held at Coffee and Willow Creek at the southbound stop,
Time?
2 o'clock.
That's a Monday.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Karen.
And that completes my report.
Thank you. Jeff? Thank you.
Everything in my committee was discussed in tonight's board meeting.
I believe that's true for all the other committees. Is there anything else on committee reports? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim. I know you need to leave early. The only thing left is board member comments.
I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Cindy?
I have a couple of things. One is the advisory committee, I think that was talked about in one of the other meetings. What is our next step in how that's gonna, how we're gonna implement that, or is that something that has to be on the agenda for us to talk about, or?
Actually, that's part of the strategic plan that we're developing, and we're just a hair's breadth away from completing that. Well, we've got probably another week's worth of work to do on it, and then we'll be bringing it forward to the board.
Okay.
So it is in process.
Okay, the other thing is, I noticed on the TTAC agenda for tomorrow is our TDA, our 20 million plus whatever that's on there. Steve, so
Yeah.
you'll be at that TTAC meeting?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because I know the last time we had it, there was some conversation about things, and I just want to make sure that we're well represented in case they have some questions about.
Usually it goes right through.
Yeah, usually it does, and I don't know why the last time they brought up questions, so I just want to make sure that we're going to be able to answer whatever questions that they have. And the other thing I think is, it's just a question I have for maintenance. I got new tires put on our work truck at work, and they suggested that I put retreads on the back tires that I didn't, or on the front tires. One of them, one front or back didn't, they said didn't need brand new ones. So I was curious, I know that we probably go through thousands of tires a year, if not, I don't know what the, but, and I know in the military they do the same thing. A lot of their Jeeps and some of their, they use red retreads, and they're like 30% cheaper. So I just wasn't sure if that's something that we've looked at doing. I don't know if that's really safe for buses to do that, but if it would save us money and it's safe to do, then I don't know if that's something that we would look at, or.
We've always done it.
Oh, you've always done it?
In fact, we usually we do a case analysis on the casing, and if we can do it twice, we'll retread it twice.
Oh, really? Well, you're on it all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I thought you were asking for advice for Smith. And I was gonna.
Can I bring my truck so you can come in?
Well, I was gonna say that Chris can submit an invoice to your company. Thank you. Elliot?
That's page 5 revenue.
Page 5 revenue, there you go, page 5 revenue.
Skills.
Go for it.
I appreciated getting an email about the suggestions for the routes this last week. Had some folks come and ask about particular routes and changing them. One of the questions I'd still like the route up on, what's that, Morning Drive up there? By Foothill, by the church up there. I would really like that route, the expansion of that route, to include that church be formally studied and looked at. I know you did an ancillary study about, how long it would take us, if we add those stops. I would like to, get a budget number, let the budget, and let the service committee, decide if that's something we need to do. Let the budget committee decide if we can find that in the budget. I think that, as we look for new ways of improving our revenue, we're going to have to start making some of, some places like that available. The map I saw showed that it wasn't like when the Route 6 went up there, was like, hey, nobody rode it. There was actually some pretty decent ridership numbers up on that part of town. And so that's kind of like a nexus. The other thought I had was, as we try to make a decision on if that's a good choice or not a good choice, is do a quick little survey up there of those housing, those more densely populated areas. I think in their email we talked about, there's a lot of apartments up there. There's Section 8 apartments. There's a lot of apartments connected with the church up there, and maybe we can ask those folks if there's really some desire and need. Hey, would you guys ride this? Maybe they wouldn't, but at least helps us make a good decision. In another conversation I had, I spoke to the director of KernCog, Aaron Hakimi, and I was kind of brainstorming with him, about the fare box recovery ratio, and I kind of lamented, about how we constantly have this struggle at GET, and that is, even as we look to possibly raising, fare, that is that, it's hard for us to go out and say, okay, let's try to generate some more, expand the route or do something like this, because it's going to have a negative impact on our fare box recovery ratio. And he mentioned to me something that I'd like us to, to look at, as staff look at, and that is, he said, KernCog understands that there is a possibility of having a deficit in the fare box recovery ratio being lower than 20% in the cases where you're expanding service. And he said that KernCog is not going to, your funding is not, your FTA funding is not going to be in jeopardy if you're making a calculated change. Something that has that has a possibility of increasing or a possibility of succeeding, but you don't know until you actually try it. And he said he has not had the case where a transit agency has decided to expand their their service, and then KernCog withheld funding because they didn't meet the fare box recovery ratio. I kind of speak in two sides of my mouth. One, I really want us to meet the fare because that's the law, that's what our goal is. And the other side too is how do we try to increase ridership, serve more areas, be a more successful transit agency. So, I think this Fairfax. This is just one example, and maybe there's more out there. But I'd like for us to get maybe a ruling or a letter or something from KernCog spelling out exactly what they require, or at what time would they give us a reprieve on meeting the fare box recovery ratio, and then go present projects like maybe the extension of this route up there or others like that, and say, listen, this is what we'd like to endeavor on. Over the next year or the next 2 years, this is what we think our fare box recovery ratio is going to do. Is this acceptable? Are we at risk? Is that something that we could, work towards, or am I just totally off base?
No, we can work towards that. Typically, the rule of thumb has been you have 3 years to bring the ridership up, the revenue recovery on a route, and one of the things that is difficult is if you don't achieve that, then you have to take the service away, and taking service away is very painful. So we're always very cautious and want to assure its success when we expand service. The other thing I would say is that our long-range plan does not call for us to expand coverage, but calls for us to expand productivity, which is really putting more frequency on our existing routes rather than stretching our routes out to cover more of the city. So we take all those things into consideration as we evaluate these requests. But certainly getting a letter from Kern Cog saying they would work with us on our fare box recovery ratio as we try to improve our services would certainly be a good thing to do.
Yeah, I just in the case of the church up there, and that it was a former route, and I know we've sort of shrunk ours, but there's got to be some cases like that one, like the one out on the east side, the Del Sol, and there's probably others, I'm just, and I appreciate our, our want to basically lower our wait times for our customers. I think it's a great thing. So I just wanted to offer that and see if there's something we could do, work with it to better the service for our customers. That's all I have.
Thank you. I find it that I just learned something that Kern Cog is in fact the monitor, or how would you say, the auditor or the policeman on our fare box ratio.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
That's what I was told.
Okay.
Oversight agency.
Sorry?
Oversight agency.
Oversight. Okay. But they have the authority to withhold funds if we don't.
TDA funds.
TDA.
Not federal.
Okay. State funds. And the other point that you were making, what I interpret what you're saying is that it's possible to set up a new service, a new line or new route, and to manage that, or what I'm getting at is a new service or new route could be kept segregated so it does not dilute our fare box.
That's correct.
What Aaron's point to me was, on the phone, was it affects your total fare box recovery ratio. And it's almost like, this is it, my interpretation of what he said. It's almost like you get a reprieve for a year. I mean, not that it's acceptable, but there's an understanding with that, hey, in order to increase service, this is a temporary, temporary reprieve from that part.
I've read about this, and I believe it's in the board member guidelines about how to evaluate performance of a new service or something. There are guidelines on how many months or a year or so that should be used. So you don't, as board members, we don't make quick judgments on the performance of a route. We have to give it a certain amount of time and so forth. So there are guidelines along those lines. Okay. All right. I had this is a basic board meeting administrative matter, but starting, I believe I think we can start this in the next meeting. We want to start using a consent agenda, whereby basic routine matters that we always that are simply a matter of passing through. We can use the consent agenda and have one motion and second to approve those items, as they do in, I believe, Kern Cog and this county supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
What type of agenda items would we be including on the consent?
Well, the first.
Would it be like the check disbursements?
Check disbursement, the approval of the agenda and so forth. And as we go forward, as we another.
And we can pull items off as we fit.
Right. Yeah. And on that note, the idea is on committee recommendations as well. Could be on the consent. However, if you have an interest and you want to delve into it, then we could you can pull it off.
My only hesitation, I don't disagree with the idea, but I've been to board meetings where I'm not saying that we're going to be those type of folks, but
you don't want to become a rubber stamp.
Well, no. I mean, you get to a meeting, and it's like consent calendar. All in favor say aye. Hey, thanks a lot for coming tonight. And everybody in the audience who spent their time to get there, doesn't really get to hear. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of important details in staff reports, and a lot of times you hear, maybe not the resolution or maybe that's something interesting. I didn't know they were even talking about that tonight. And so, my whole goal is, hey, we're here for the public. The public's coming, spending your time, sitting there quietly and attentively, and folks that come. Our job is to inform and educate as well as govern.
But isn't the public able to aren't they able to say, I would like to pull that off the agenda
Sure.
because I have comments on it? And
Of course, you can
So-
always pull somebody else from consent calendar.
So we would make that available to folks.
that would just be an announcement that I think would have to be made. If there's anybody that would like something pulled off the agenda, please let us know so we can.
And if you want to discuss the consent calendar in further detail, I recommend we put it on the agenda.
You mean the implementation of a consent?
Yeah, and what's going to go on to it, yes.
Okay.
So people could be aware of it.
So, can we go ahead
We can
with that?
agendize that.
Let's agendize it. That's an idea.
Agenda, the agenda.
And that, it's a broader scope for that process. It's something that was been brought up in a couple of meetings about action items going to, and policies and so forth, going to committee, and then committee can be back with recommendations. And the whole idea of managing those processes and trying to streamline things. I really appreciate your point about making sure that we disseminate information to the public, because that's the purpose of the meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've been to some Kernpog meetings sometimes where it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like, wait, what you said? Did we just go through all that already? Yeah.
Okay, is that it? That's our agenda tonight. I think we're done, aren't we?
There is no executive
Oh,
session.
that's the point, right. So we adjourn? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.